Hello everyone, welcome back to my Let's Play series on SimCity 4. Today is another new episode of my series. We are playing a city in Spenadawn, or whatever way you want to pronounce it. It's a city in SimCity 4 Maxis that has been inside for a pretty long while. Excuse me. So I'm just trying to expand it and then use my creative juices to make the city a even more splendid place. So as you can see here, we are back to our city, and the idea I had for my city, the last episode, if you were watching, was that actually I wanted to build a pretty nice and quaint city. I was pretty inspired by the city that I went to Australia. I believe there are many cities in the world that aren't really very big. What I'm looking out for now is actually to build a city that isn't too big. Much like a small town in transition to become a big city. So as you can see here, my buildings aren't very big and with a special purpose because I didn't really build any dense commercial or residential in the town area. So as you can see, the building sizes are very small. And as you can see at the side of the city, I've specially constructed a set of suburbs. So if you have watched my suburbs tutorial, you'll learn that these houses are very beautiful, and I made them because I wanted to create this feel of a very quaint little city living in its own world. Because in SimCity 4 you probably have actually built like big cities many times before, and you realize that they are very boring sometimes because of various reasons. For instance, like the same buildings coming out all the time, or lacking of ideas to actually like make the city a more interesting place. So what you need in a city is actually like places of interest, something that defines it and actually makes it different from other cities. So if you don't mind me right now, I'm just fixing some stuff in a city. For instance, like enacting some ordinances which will help out the city a bit, but you have to be very careful because we do not want the expenses to exceed the income anytime soon. So I'm just improving the traffic infrastructure of the city as well, building some train stations here and there, and of course also developing the city slowly. And do pardon me for my poor articulation. It's been with me since the first episode, so naturally whenever I start a commentary series, I do get a bit nervous because I know some people call this like a Ching Chong accent or something, but I can't really help myself because I'm a Singaporean. If you don't know where that is, it is a small island down from Malaysia. Malaysia is in Southeast Asia. So the fortunate thing is that we are actually quite well educated in English. So I would say that my English is really quite good. My written English, because I've actually gotten a distinction for my A-levels in English, and that's a pretty awesome feat, which I'm very proud of. But unfortunately, my oral skills and presentation, stuff like that in my school hasn't been really outstanding. So as you can see here, sometimes I do get nervous and my articulation is not very good, and the things I do, like the things I say, may not be like easily understandable compared to the way like Americans or British people speak. Well, I'm slowly trying to learn from them and to make my commentary better. So as you can see here, I'm slowly improving my commentary, so I hope that you all will enjoy it more. And right now I'm actually liking how my city looks like, because it's something that I really want it to be like. So there's an industrial hub at the east side, and at the city center, or should I say the town center, we have the commercial and residential regions that aren't too big. So right now I'm just gonna fix up some traffic issues, because as the city grows, my population is actually like 10k right now. You need to be careful of how you manage your traffic, because you would have more people traveling to industrial zones. Many of the residents would travel to the industrial zones to work, so you should be more generous in giving them the avenues and roads that they need to actually travel to work. So if you're just going to give them like one road to the industrial zone, for instance, then it will be a very big trouble, because everyone is using that road, and at the start when you develop your city, Sims heavily rely on industrial zones to actually get jobs and their income, because the commercial regions, commercial sector isn't very developed right now. And I just had to say that, you know, in SimCity 4, you had to start out using industries, be it in this city or if you want so in a neighboring city. So industrial zones are very important. So besides using the roads, I've actually built a train system hub, so that I can actually make the Sims travel to my industrial hub and back home for their jobs like more easily. And of course this will reduce the pollution of the region as well, and also give them more ways to commute to work instead of just using cars. So if you want to step that up even further, you can actually build bus stops in the future. Bus stops are more easily probable because they are very small, but to build a railway system is actually a bit complicated, because you need some space to build the railway tracks, and of course to give space for the trains to run. So as you can see right now, I've actually developed my railway system first before actually building the industrial hub. So as I expand my industrial hub, I'm actually building the railway system as well, so that, you know, I don't waste any time and I do not need to get back to this place to develop the transport hub and spend hours on it. And if you realize, I'm actually like building new industrial zones, but I'm actually deviating from what I usually have. I'm staying away from the dirty and manufacturing industries, because they are very polluting, and we have reached a stage in the city where the education level of the Sims are higher, so we can actually like build high-tech industries. But high-tech industries won't grow when there's very high pollution. So the thing you have to do, even though it is a bit radical, is to actually demolish the dirty and manufacturing industries so that the industrial zones can be cleared up. And then the next thing you do is to tax the dirty and manufacturing industries very high, as I did just now, and finally wait a while for the pollution to subside because the factories are gone. And after a while, when the high-tech industries, the demand is rocketing, is sky high, these factories will grow, and you have new jobs for your Sims that are more high paying, and your Sims will have a better standard of living. And of course you'll create a new cycle of economic growth, where actually more high-rise houses and offices will grow, as we are looking forward to. So I'm just fixing some fire issues in the city, and the fire stations are just barely adequate for my city. I've been pretty lazy to build all this stuff. And do tell me how you know, you want me to like comment. Do tell me how you want me to like make a commentary out of these videos, because sometimes I may digress a lot or talk to technical stuff about the city, or you want to, or if you don't mind me like telling me more, I mean if you don't mind me like sharing with you like more of my personal life, do leave a comment on how, you know, you want the commentary to go, and you know how I can improve, because I'm always learning. And I do agree that, you know, I'm not the best commentator out there. I'm very normal, and you can even say that I'm hindered by my own accent. It's not really like perfect English as you say, even though my grammar and vocabulary is okay, but my pronunciation and my accent does hinder me a bit. So do feedback to me on how you want me to like improve or any comments for me. So as you can see here, I'm just explaining my dirty industrial hub. This was my very first industrial hub that Maxis already gave me. So it was already here even before like I built a city. And so I'm just going to like put some train stations to expand the region, and I'm just finding gaps to actually place this stuff. And as you can see here, when you play SimCity for a very long time, you'll be able to like notice instantly what buildings are dirty industries and what buildings are manufacturing industries. So if you don't like these buildings, you can actually just demolish them, which I might be doing. It depends, because dirty industries aren't very high paying, so I might want to phase that out in the future. But I'll just leave them here for a while, because I'm still reliant on coal power plants, which are very cheap but very polluting. So whenever you put coal power plants near industries, you actually create very high pollution that will cause like the factories growing around the coal power plants to be like dirty, because high-tech industries can't grow in a polluted environment. Their population will dwindle and they can't function as well. So you need to create this like pollution-free haven for high-tech industries to grow, as some of them are growing right now. So I'm just demolishing some of these manufacturing industries so that they don't clog up my area and cause my high-tech industry factories to be abandoned. And the best way is to actually tax the manufacturing industry such that their demand isn't too strong. Their demand should be about 500 if you have the new updated RCI demand that hits up to 6,000. It's an add-on from Sintropolis. I can't remember the name, but the demand for manufacturing shouldn't be too high as compared to high-tech industries. So that preferentially when you develop new industrial zones, high-tech industries will grow, but some manufacturing will grow as well. You do not stop them from growing entirely, but you do not want the manufacturing industries to like grow too much as well. So I'm going to embark on a very major project right now. So I have this radical idea of my region. I have this quaint city near my center of the region, and at the shoreline I'm going to create this very big bustling coastal city. Like it's really a city, because I'm going to use like high density commercial and residential. So hopefully it will create some spectacular results of buildings right beside the coast. In many cities this has been done because in many ways it worked, because buildings near the water have higher land value. I'm not sure if that works in SimCity 4, but I think it does help a bit. But in SimCity 3 it is more obvious. So in any case, buildings near the water do look spectacular. Buildings near the water do look spectacular. As in many cities, I do think about, like, for instance, New York. It is near the water, and in Singapore also, we have built something called the Marina Bay, where the water, the skyline is near the water. It's like a bay where all the buildings surround this huge pond, which we coincidentally make it as a reservoir. So you can actually Google that Marina Bay in Singapore. It's hard for me to explain it, but it's just a bunch of high-rise commercial buildings lining up beside the bay, beside the water. So it looks that pretty darn spectacular. And do tell me if my commentary is going a bit too fast. I'm just like a typical Asian. There's like so much information going through my brain when I do this commentary, but sometimes I need to be able to like articulate out the things that I should really say, and make it more short and concise, so that you listeners can understand what I'm talking about when I'm actually building the city. And if you have realized, I've slowed down my commentary, even though my commentary may speed up sometimes, but I've slowed down the pronunciation of each word. Sorry. Look at how my tongue stutters. So in that sense, I hope that you are able to digest what I'm saying as I speak, and of course understand how I make my city. So if you haven't caught me, hopefully you did. I'm trying to make this big city like beside the quaint town. So as expected, as I like to do, it shall be like a commercial region right beside the shore, and then beside the commercial regions we shall build some high density residential regions, so that beside these huge offices there's these luxury apartments, these wealthy apartments where high wealth Sims can actually live in these places and work and commute, and they will be a hub for the economy to prosper, and people can just commute back and forth to work very easily. And if you have realized also, I've created many neighboring connections to the city which I will develop in the future, so that this coastal city will be very well connected to the other cities as well, and more people will come here to work. But traffic is going to be a major issue, so it is very important that you prioritize your traffic connections, because the population here is going to like skyrocket, like literally, when you see the city growing in the future. So I would like to build some avenues which you can see right here. Avenues do help a lot in the population and managing the traffic. So if you don't mind me right now, I'm just building some recreational facilities, because it kind of sucks to have like too many commercial offices and no recreational facilities, no fountains to break the monotony of the high structure glass buildings. So it does create some sort of like a design, like some sort of like resting point, sanctuaries for residents and office workers alike to rest and relax, as in many major cities. So this is a very compact city where there's very little space, so I'm just trying to be very space efficient as possible by actually like building many bus stops. So when I build all these bus stops, you realize that they do not actually take up any space, but they actually clip onto the road. So you can actually check this out. I've used this in many of my older tutorials. The bus stop that actually clip to the roads are very useful. And if you realize, even though I speed up this commentary by quite a lot, I've actually left some gaps in between the huge residential zones, so that I can actually fit some parks in between the houses, to give some spaces of recreation for my Sims. As you can see here, I'm just going to build a gazebo right in between the two residential zones and some parks as well. So that was a mistake right here. To be very space efficient, you need to be able to like fit in as much houses and offices as possible, but also give the residents and the commuters, the office workers, some space to relax by building some plazas. And on top of that, you actually need to like build a very efficient transport infrastructure for your Sims. So I'm using a lot of avenues, bridges to link it to my coastal towns. Do be generous with the amount of bridges you give to the coastal city and link it to the coastal town, because as I said, the population will skyrocket. So you do need to be very meticulous in planning for all this, because if you zone too much zones and you do not give all these offices and houses the infrastructure that they need, then it will collapse, and the traffic problems will be many, and they'll be complaining, and the region will not function as effectively as it should be. And I'm just gonna put like large hospitals and schools, because they don't take up much space, and put it at the center of the coastal city so that they can have maximum coverage. So what I like to do here is actually like to hold the control button and zone very big residential and commercial zones, preferably like in many variations, like 2x3 or 3x3, and also 4x4 squares. By holding the control button, you can zone these very big zones, and you can actually encourage the commercial offices to grow that big, instead of like making them grow very small commercial houses, commercial shops or houses. So if you do understand that concept that I've been using in my past tutorials, good for you. I do apologize if you don't understand some things that I'm trying to do right now, because there's many things I'm trying to achieve, and I'm just trying to like fit in as much recreational facilities as I can in between all these very densely packed houses and offices. So if you don't mind me for my fast articulation, I genuinely hope that you understand what I'm trying to do right here, because I did speed up the commentary by a bit so that it won't waste your time. So I've saved the city because I've achieved what I've done, you know, in like 20 minutes or so. I've developed this coastal region, and I'm just gonna build a few more recreational facilities to increase the land value and make the city more beautiful. So it shall be a sharp contrast as compared to my quaint little town at the center of the region. And I'm just going to like tweak the text values a bit so that I can promote like the growth of commercial offices and houses at the site where my new developments are. And based on the very high residential and commercial demand, I can see that my city is going to grow very well, because there's going to be like many new developments coming up, and you know, developers are clamoring for spaces to actually build these huge condominiums and offices, and it was spur on a new economic cycle in my city, where, you know, the new residential and commercial houses causes the creation of more industrial factories as well, which in turn causes the residential and commercial houses to develop even more. So it's a repeated cycle back and forth that actually makes a city more and more prosperous. So at the start, when you actually like grow your city, you'll realize that the buildings aren't that nice as you see right now in my quaint little city. I like to use the word quaint because it gives a very rustic charm, the feel of this like small like old-fashioned buildings with a very American or British Art Deco design. But right here we have this sharp contrast. You know, we are actually building a very big city at a coastal region. So I'm actually using many ideas that my past tutorials have made to like develop this city. And one thing you shouldn't miss out on your city is actually building all these city halls and reward buildings, because they do create some sort of variety in your city. And you know, a city hall looks very attractive in your city because it's a very outstanding building, and it is like a signature building that, you know, all Sims can recognize, because it's the very important building, like a parliament house for your city where all the major policies are being planned and stuff like that. Well, in actual fact, I'm the one actually planning, so, you know, in many ways SimCity is eye candy, but you know, all these type of different buildings do create a very nice variety in the city. So as you can see here, my major project is a revolutionary success. I like to use all these big words, but I have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm just trying to like build like I'm just gonna like cram some commercial buildings right here. You know, something like what the Singapore government likes to do, like major efficiency, like no corruption. We built this like perfect traffic infrastructure for our Sims, and we also plot some parks in this very small region, and we attract the developers to actually come to our region to build very big houses and offices, which cause a very dramatic effect, because you have this very huge coastal city at the site, and it is very profitable because you are actually using very little maintenance to actually run the city. All we need is just some education and healthcare coverage, and police and fire coverage. Do not like overspend it, and also a few recreational facilities here and there to make the Sims happy, and of course some bus stops to facilitate transport. And as you can see right here, we have this very beautiful city at night, which is still developing. I can show you the result in the future. It's going to look more and more spectacular as the buildings change and as I further develop my industrial hub. And if you do have any questions for my city, or you know what I'm talking about, if I'm talking too fast, I do apologize for it, because I think that's the way we Asians are. We just like to be super efficient in our city building or in anything that I do. So I just brush through all this city building stuff very quickly and give a broad stroke of how I'm just going to develop my city. So whenever there's an issue, I just quickly put in my solution. For instance, if there's a garbage issue, I instantly build in a waste to energy incinerator and plot a power line to my major city so that there's more power to my city as well. And if there's a water issue, I also put some water plants. So SimCity is just a very simple game that has unlimited creativity, because besides actually managing these needs of your sims, you have the power to actually create the city of your dreams, use the various tools to actually make a city that fits your imagination and what you really want to do. So that's the drawing point of the SimCity that I really love about this game. It has so much details, and I can actually install so many add-ons and stuff to develop my city and watch these new buildings grow instead of the boring Maxis buildings that often clutter my skyline. And this creates a lot of variety in my city, and it makes every city that I make look very different. So I'm quite satisfied with the result of my new major city, as you can see here. In the next few episodes, I'm going to show you how I'm going to improve this skyline and also improve on the industrial hub that I actually created for my sims. So whenever you improve all these dirty industrial, you actually convert them to manufacturing or high-tech industries that pay more to the sims, you stimulate development for even more high-rise, high land value residential and commercial regions. So it can actually cause a lot of wealth creation in the city. So not only the mayor profits, but the sims also profit, and they get richer, and the city looks more splendid as a result, because more developments coming in, and there's more splendid buildings coming up. So this draws us to the end of our series today. It's a very fast episode. I do apologize for brushing through everything very quickly. If I have time, I will show you more about my city, but that's it for today. So I really hope you enjoy my commentary, and see you soon.